الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ذاك العظيم في علا من أبدع الكون سوى سبحان الله وبحمد الله.
And so, lifestyle and being a Muslim. And I question myself about this. I questioned the countries that Muslims lived in. And I questioned the reality of Islam today. When you look at the root term, and this is very important for those non-Muslims who may be here tonight, when you look at the root term, or the root of the word Islam, you find salama, which actually comes from peace, and so it is a form of istislam, it is a surrender or submission, and in that surrender, the person is actually seeking peace. Now, that's contrary to what we've learned in the mass media today, because the mass media, especially Hollywood, has a tendency to give stereotypes to groups of people. And for some reason, an economic reason or political reason, after the fall of the Soviet Union, and the end of the war between the capitalist countries and the communist countries, for some reason Muslims have now been designated as the enemy. And so Hollywood is after us. And our young people are bombarded with this. When I was growing up in America, the bad guys were usually Japanese, Germans, and Russians. Today now, the bad guys are usually Spanish drug cartels, Afro-American gangs, but the most sinister character you can bring to the screen is a terrorist. He seizes his hostages, and he won't release them until you release his comrades from the jails. And then the heroes of society go into motion. You probably know some of them. One, his name is Chuck Norris. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the guy with the big muscles. Steven Seagal with the little ponytail. And so they go into motion to rid the world of the new terror. This is a form of stereotyping and propaganda. Because the reality that I found out is that Muslims are living in every part of the planet. And that the majority of Muslims actually do not come from the Middle East. I had the opportunity to travel around to Muslim countries and to travel around the earth, and we realize, and you are living here in Southeast Asia, and we realize the size of the population in Indonesia, and then going up into China. This is not known by people who are living in North America. You may not be aware of the fact that Islam right now is the second largest religion in North America. It's the second largest religion in the UK and much of Europe, and it is growing in leaps and bounds. And if you take the prison population in the United States, right now it was reported to me that last year over 300,000 people embraced Islam. And so it is growing in large numbers. And people are saying, well, why is this thing growing, man? I mean, if Muslims are a little terrorist group and they want to blow everything up in sight, and either they're killed or they're killing somebody, then why would all these people in the United States, in UK, in Norway, in Sweden, in Germany, in all parts of the world, why would they be accepting this faith? The reality is something far different. That the word Islam is actually a qualitative term. This is a very important point. That being Muslim does not connect you with any particular race, or any particular nationality, or any particular linguistic group. Actually, when we speak about Islam, we are talking about al-fitrah. We are talking about the natural state, being in sync, or being in tune with the environment. And so with that definition, the sun, which is moving in its own orbit, the moon, moving in its own orbit, all of the planets are Muslims. The insect world, moving with instinct, they are Muslims. Anything that submits to the natural order within the universe is in a state of Islam. That is the root definition of the term before we bring our politics and our economics and our stereotyping and our racism. Before that comes in, that is actually what the word Muslim means. And one of the key elements within Islam, or I should say the key element within Islam, is La ilaha illallah. There is nothing worthy of worship but Allah, or the creator of the heavens and the earth. And this is a concept that was shared by people throughout time. Prophets came to China, prophets came to India, prophets came to Australia, prophets came to Europe, to Africa, to the Americas. Allah tells us in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We have sent to every nation a messenger, that they would worship Allah and stay away from false gods. And so every ummah, every nation at one point in time received a messenger. I've had the opportunity to investigate into the folk cultures of people throughout the planet. And you will find in most of the cultures that preserve their history in an oral form or in a written form, you will find some sort of discussion of an individual who came to them at one point in time and told them, don't worship yourself, don't worship the created things, don't worship the sun, but you should worship the creator of all created things. Go past the material things in life and go to the one who is not masculine, who is not feminine, who initiated life, whose creation is between Kaf and Noon, who said kun fayakun, be and it is. And creation began. And so with that root definition, you will find amongst the aboriginal people in Australia, in the Americas, in Africa, all throughout the planet, as well as you will find people in nations in Europe, in Africa and Asia, you will find this discussion of the belief in one God. And so the concept of La ilaha illallah, Tawheed, is a type of unity. It is unifying things, bringing things together. In the religious sense, it gives us the concept of one God. But in a physical sense, in a social sense, it also tells us that all of humanity is one. And that we are actually cousins. We're all part of the same family. And in an educational sense, Tawheed is a type of inclusion. And you will find that the followers of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who came over 1400 years ago, who we see as the finality of a long line of prophets and messengers who came from the beginning of time, that when he sent his followers out, they had a thirst for knowledge. And they realized, al-hikmah dalatul mu'min, that this wisdom, knowledge, is the lost property of a believer. Search for knowledge, seek it. Siru fil ard, travel into the earth. And so you will find, in most of the parts of the world, written information. You'll find some of the oldest maps and the oldest information in most of the countries of the world are in Arabic. And I was surprised to know that the oldest map of Australia was written in Arabic. Al-Khwarizmi, who did this map, it is the oldest preserved map of Australia on written record. We also found in America, in 956, Al-Mas'udi did a map of America, and he did a map of the world, and he drew America and he said, Ard Majhula, unknown territory. It is the oldest preserved map. And so the Muslims then traveled throughout the earth. And in going to different countries, they actually took in the knowledge of the ancient ones. They took in the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians, the knowledge of the Chinese, the knowledge of India, the knowledge of the Middle East, the knowledge of the Greeks, of the Romans, and put it in a Tawheedic type of form. And this is one of the most important blessings of being Muslim. And some of us don't even realize this. It is a Tawheedic understanding to be able to look at another culture and say, in every culture there is truth. And if there is truth in that culture, if there is science, if there is knowledge, I want to share in that. And if I have something to give to the people, especially this Tawheedic concept of one God, then it is my duty to give that to the people so that they will be able to at least enjoy that privilege or that understanding of worshiping one God. And so with this Tawheedic understanding, Muslims then developed a great society.
ذاك العظيم في علا من أبدع الكون سوى سبحان الله وبحمد الله ولا إله إلا الله. ذاك العظيم في علا من أبدع الكون سوى سبحان الله